I told you guys that things would be ramping up around Fallout 76 and how I suspected there would be a lot of news on the way, and well, so far it's been true. As just today, we got some very interesting information around the Wastelanders PTS, although that's not directly from Bethesda, just actions taken by them, and even separately around banned players and how player rollbacks have started to go out, as well as a significant number of atoms are getting paid out to those players. In this video, I'm going to be talking all about that. I notice a lot of you guys that do watch aren't quite subscribed. There's a lot more of news coming on the way. Even tomorrow, I expect a pretty big information drop, and I will be making a video on that. So if you want to keep up to date with Fallout 76, and in particular, the Wastelanders DLC as more and more is revealed around that, I do encourage you to subscribe or even just leave a like for the algorithm. In December, Fallout 76 had several pretty bad hacks go live. We saw one that allowed the spawning in of certain items, human NPCs, props, even those from past Fallout games, and of course the creation of legendary items. And then a couple of weeks later, we saw the very notorious inventory steal hack, where if you use this hack, you actually could steal an entire player's inventory, which naturally is pretty devastating. Since then, we saw bans for many of the players abusing one hack or the other. These started a few weeks ago now, and they seemingly were hardware ID bans, meaning that it wasn't just the account you used the hack on getting banned, but actually all the accounts you had on that system. And this definitely seemed to be fairly effective. Several of those notorious hackers ended up quitting the game overall. And in fact, those are still going on. I heard of several users just banned in this past week, so it seems like a gradual but fairly effective process. Although, all the while, we still hadn't heard much in the way of response for those who were actually victims of this, users particularly who got their inventories stolen. That was until today, as Bethesda did release an official statement as well as a fix to this problem. Bethesda made a post titled Resolution for Players Affected by Inventory Theft. In this, they do state, in late December, a number of PC players were targeted by cheaters who used third-party software to steal items from their inventories. Starting today, if you are among those who had items stolen, please keep an eye out for an email from our customer support team at the address associated with your Bethesda.net account. It will contain details on how we would like to resolve this in your case and answer a few questions you may have. We greatly appreciate your patience while we worked bringing closure to those affected by this cheat. We would also like to thank everyone who reported this exploit to us originally so that we could address it as soon as possible. So it seems like if you were one of the people that were affected but also did report it to Bethesda, you received one of two emails. As of right now, it seems like it was only those who actually created a ticket with Bethesda, which they did in fairness instruct people to do. And which email you got was dependent on whether or not you were a member of Fallout First or not. So across the board, whether you're in Fallout First or not, users who reached out to Bethesda will now notice in Fallout 76 they have a clone of their character from December 20th. December 20th being the Friday before the hack went live. The hack went live on Sunday, specifically Sunday night though, so it's really only about 48 hours. And this can be a little confusing because if you are somebody affected by this who got this reverted character, when you log in to play Fallout 76, you'll actually notice that that is the default character now. You'll probably notice that that character is lower level, but also has all of those items that you potentially lost in the inventory steal glitch, but also any other items you just happen to have on that character on December 20th. So in a way, you are getting a duplicate of some of these items. If they're in your stash and never stolen, or just some of the junk you had in general, you'll now have them on your current existing character that you've been playing on, but also now on this cloned version from December 20th. And even further, this for some people wasn't just a singular character. Some users found that they had not only their main character, but also several of their secondary characters had a clone from December 20th also, so it could be kind of significant. In addition to all users affected by this, Bethesda will be offering a secure trade. So basically you could transfer items from this cloned character back to your original character, like some of those items that you did lose. It's not totally clear how this will work, but Bethesda will facilitate this, so you don't have to depend on a third party to trade your items back and forth. But separately, the two separate emails come in dependent on whether you are a Fallout First member or not, because in addition to just getting your items back, Bethesda is compensating people with atoms or the Fallout First membership. So if you did have Fallout First, you will be compensated with 8,250 atoms. But if you didn't have Fallout First, you'll get 4,950 atoms and 3 months of Fallout First. So if you want just a direct comparison as far as raw atoms, if you're a Fallout First member, you get $16.50 per month. So in total, you'll have roughly 10,000 between the lump sum you get initially and then those 3 months of free service. or the 8,000 initially if you are already a member. And to put that into perspective, atoms are worth a value of roughly $10 equals 1,000 atoms. Although that's not a direct translation, as when you get to some of the larger bundles, the $40 bundle being the largest, you actually do get 1,000 atoms free, but roughly those 8,000 atoms is a $65 value if you were to buy it yourself, including those bonus atoms. So that clearly is a fairly sizable amount of compensation in addition to just getting all of your items back. At first I was kind of iffed by this, I was like, that's a weird thing to do, but at the same time I kind of get it. I mean, some of these players lost some of their best or most essential items for a month. So I do see why Bethesda felt it necessary to actually give them a little bit more than just their items back. Although it is important to keep in mind they technically got more than just a little bit more. Any items, especially valuable ones that you may have had in your stash that weren't stolen off of your inventory, you now will have duplicates of. One on that cloned account from previously and one on your current account that you never lost. I would actually be pretty curious to see what effect this has on the in-game economy of Fallout 76. But now that we actually know how much compensation these users are getting, but also that it kind of is an official dupe method, I would be curious to see Bethesda's response to people who create tickets now after the fact. Like me, for example, technically my items were stolen. I emptied out my inventory, only had the invaluable stuff, and I specifically did it for demonstration purposes, but could I get 8,000 atoms as well as all of my items in my stash times 2? Because if it just takes one email to Bethesda to get that done, that's actually pretty good, and I'll be curious to see how they respond to some of these now new and incoming tickets of users claiming to have had this issue before. And overall, I would say this is probably the best possible solution we could have expected from Bethesda, and honestly a little bit of a better one than I personally expected. In the past, Bethesda has been extremely reluctant to revert or roll back characters. In some instances, actually saying to people that it wasn't possible or they couldn't do it, even though they have done it for other people and clearly did it in this case. Just recently, I talked about how one viewer reached out to me describing their experience with losing a character. They claimed it was due to an in-game glitch. Bethesda said it was likely someone playing a joke or a prank and they actually deleted the character off their account. But besides that, in the email, Bethesda directly said, as far as the missing character goes, we unfortunately do not have the ability to restore the missing character because of limitations with our tools. And rather, they offered him 5,000 atoms as well as some scrap to get him a kickstart on a new character. So I'm not sure what the deal is with this discrepancy, but I think for these users that had their inventory stolen, this really is the best possible outcome. It's not the best outcome. The best outcome would just be hand placing each item that was stolen or lost to them in their new accounts, and then maybe throwing them some atoms on top. But again, with how things have been handled in the past, I'm honestly kind of shocked at how good this one was. It's not the perfect solution, but it's definitely one of the better ones, and I imagine most people will be happy with it. Although of course in the future, the goal should be preventative measures, not reactionary ones. As you know, with this particular hack, Bethesda knew about it before it went live, but didn't actually fix it in time. Although they fixed it just 24 hours after it did go live. That's definitely a great step in the right direction and really resolves that problem quite comprehensively, although there still is the issue that is unresolved of 3-star legendaries. Those are spawned in and traded away, and although many users who did spawn those in did get banned, they are still now a fundamental part of the Fallout 76 economy, and it did have an effect, as I discussed in my past video on the Fallout 76 economy. Are those getting removed? Are they just going to be there forever? Although separate from that, something else that is going on, of course, is the Wastelanders PTS or public test server. Some users are now bug testing or really just playing Wastelanders early. This went live on Monday, but due to the large download, many people only gained access on Tuesday, and we immediately saw a ton of leaks around this. I talked about this in yesterday's video if you missed it. I can't talk about the leaked details directly because I've gotten copyright strikes from ZeniMax for talking about leaked details in the past, although it does seem like some people who have been leaking details around this are actually getting kicked. I've seen a couple of reports pop up of users getting this email, or what would be this email, stating that they've been removed from the Fallout 76 public test server as a result of violating their NDA. Now, how exactly this is happening, how Bethesda is finding out about these users, isn't totally clear. There is some speculation that there was some kind of subtle or hidden on-screen code that Bethesda could scan, and it would reveal the user that posted those images or video, or it could just be as simple as users are reporting other users who are leaking things to Bethesda. And I've actually seen some people reporting other users who are leaking information in hopes of getting added themselves as almost a bounty program. Although at least thus far, it doesn't seem like anyone's actually gotten in using that method. Although, something pretty interesting around this, only it seems like a handful of people actually got those removal emails. I was just kind of curious, so I looked into one of the users that did get this email and posted about it on Discord, and going through some of his post history, it actually looks like this was a user who had all of his accounts banned for abusing hacks in the past. Like literally saying that this was his last account to not be banned, and it's somehow gotten to the otherwise fairly exclusive Wastelanders PTS. Between that and actually hearing about some other users that had multiple accounts get in, it does make me a little bit more curious as to the selection process for this program. I've been praising Bethesda in the past because it seems like they were really focusing on more veteran or notable players, several of those being handpicked from the community, people that were well known or had helped on other issues in the past, but seemingly that wasn't universal. Likely playtime was a significant deciding factor for many of these users, but that's not indicative of much. Talking to some players around Fallout 76, especially some of the veteran traders, they'll log in all of their various accounts at the same time and then just use one or the other. So their accounts could have thousands of hours of playtime, but very little of that is actually active playtime. Not really a huge issue one way or the other, but something interesting to keep in mind. I was kind of shocked that this particular user got in. And considering he abused hacks in the past, was banned for it, it isn't exactly shocking that he immediately went to leaking some details, particularly on Discord. But either way, we'll see what kind of effects this has on leaks in the future. Bethesda seems to be pretty quick about removing some of these users, so if many users get removed, maybe we'll 1. See new users added, as they mentioned they may do in the future, but also maybe we'll see less leaks or even further punishments for the leakers as time does go on. Either way though, that is a recap of all of the latest Fallout 76 news. Again, I should have some more to share with you tomorrow, but until then, as always again, I thank you for watching, and I hope to see you all next time. Later.